What's up, guys? This is my day 2 of Strongest Man on Earth rundown recap, if you will. We did the first one from the hotel room at the show, and admittedly, this one is a couple days late because some stuff happened. We fucking did it. We got third. Don't know how the hell that happened. Braden's gonna take that now. Yeah, at the end of day 1, I left a lot of points on the board. At my estimate, probably about 12 points left on the board. And I was like sitting in 8th, and I was like, yeah, my podium hopes are done. Because even with Tom zeroing the stones to end day 1, I was like, he's still Tom Stoltman, and there's a lot of show left. And I was like, okay, best we can do is keep setting PRs and maybe push for top 5. And I could not believe how day 2 went. Starting the day with the squat, I knew that I needed first or second on this. Just the way the stones ended up, I knew I had to go before Andrade, had to go before Hooper, had to go before Thor, had to go before a lot of the good squatters. And guys like Bobby Thompson and Tom Evans are going to be before me. So, I just had to go out there and send it. And Bobby ended up getting 4. So I was like, okay, Bobby got 4. I think we're pretty close on squats. So I'm going to get some reps here. I got out there. It felt good, but it was properly heavy. Like, I know they said 811. And maybe I'm misinterpreting how the scale system works, but the scale in the back said 840. But maybe I'm just misinterpreting. I know Brian did a lot more testing and understands it a lot better than me. And he said 811. But it felt properly like it was 800 plus pounds. I got 5 reps, and this is going to sound like an annoying powerlifter thing to say, but I misgrooved the 6th one. I let my hips shoot too far back, and I just couldn't fight out of positions to get the 6th one. Do I think I had 10 in me to go catch up with Hooper? No, I don't. Do I think he gamed it? No, I actually don't. There's a bit of controversy on how we set things up, but Brian actually put things in a really good perspective when we were talking after the show. Yes, we set our foot position, we picked our shoes, we picked our bar position, and then we all hit the standard of doing a protractor on the knee, finding a 90 degree position of the knee, which isn't powerlifting depth, but it was the standard that they had determined. And in the back, when we had done testing, everyone was basically at the same depth in that testing day. But when it came down to the actual event, it didn't end up being that way. But as Hooper pointed out in his own video, when you're under 800 pounds, your pattern might slightly change from when you're under 280 pounds. And the good point that Brian brought up is once we've all determined standard of depth in the rules, and we all agreed that we reached a point that was pretty much fair. Once the whistle blows, it is no longer a squat event. It's a move this apparatus from point A to point B. Technically, somebody could stiff leg good morning the implement down to the bottom and bring it back up. There's no requirement that the knees had to bend at all. You just have to get point A to point B with the apparatus. It is a machine. It is an event to move a machine, not necessarily to hit some kind of powerlifting depth. The one that gets brought up is Andrade being forced to go incredibly deep. Well, Andrade has a slightly wider stance, a slightly more hip dominant squat. In that setup, to reach 90 degrees at the knee, he's going to be a little bit deeper potentially. And when it came down to the actual rep, his hips got blown backwards and he just couldn't hold the position. But a much weaker squatter in Westerwinski, he hit basically the same position he did in the rules, but he was able to keep his hips underneath him. He actually actively fought them to stay. They shot back, he got him underneath, and he finished a rep. And he's a much weaker squatter than a guy like Andrade or Tom Evans or guys that zeroed. So we all had equal time to see the implement, to prepare for the implement, to change our game plan and our positions for the implement. And some guys figured it out, some guys didn't. But the stones and the squat ended up being the 2 most important events of the show, and I placed pretty damn good on both. it forced a lot of zeros, and it really separated the points in a way that I don't think anybody predicted. I thought a decent amount of guys would zero the squat and the stones, but like nowhere close to what we ended up with. So after the squat, I climbed a couple positions, and we were kind of in the hunt. Okay, I think I might have even been fourth after the squat overall. We get into the wheelbarrow arm over arm, and I see a couple guys not finish the wheelbarrow. I got to go in the last heat against Hooper, but in one of the early heats, I see Maxime Boudreau not finish, and he was my pick to win the event. And I was like, okay, we have a problem. This is heavy, and heat after heat, guys just weren't finishing. The rope seemed grippy, like guys weren't struggling with their grip, but it was just properly heavy. So I get out there, I go pretty late with Hooper in the last heat. The wheelbarrow, just as Hooper said in his video, it was kind of just a buy-in for the guys who were competitive in this event. It was not a factor. It was, it was 800 plus in hand, but fairly easy once it got going. And then we sit down and do that arm over arm. And I remember in my position, I'm looking up, and I see the scoreboard, the Jumbotron right in the middle. And I had a pull where I was like, dude, I don't know if I have anything left. And I look at the Jumbotron and I see 45 seconds left. I was like, we're in danger. This is a problem. This is going to hurt really bad. And those last probably 5 or 6 pulls was just pure desperation. Let's grit it out. And that was one of the worst events I've done, conditioning wise, weight wise, anything of the sort. And you know what? As far as like big wins on the weekend, I'm probably most proud of that event. Arm over arm has been the reason that I lost national championship as an amateur. It's the reason I got second at the Amateur Arnold. That's an event I have freaking nightmares about because I just have historically been so bad at it. And at this show, I ended up 9th, just right in the middle of the pack against some of the strongest dudes in the world. Am I really good at arm over arm? No. But I am getting better, and I'm hanging with some dudes that I, on paper, should be better than me at it. And I gritted it out, and yeah, I could not be more proud of that event because I picked up some key points. And I came into the event number 3, the dumbbell, I think in 6th or 7th, but very tight pack all the way up to 3rd place. And right when I saw that scoreboard after the arm over arm, I was like, oh, we could do this. We can climb up into 3rd. But everyone who was ahead of me going into the dumbbell was also good at dumbbell. So I was like, I must win. It's not I have to do well. I must win to set myself up for the final event. And 7 events in, I knew the guys were going to be struggling on dumbbell because most of the guys struggle on dumbbell normally, but we're all hurting in the back. I mean, I hit a 240 as one of my last warm-ups. It felt good, but it hurt. And it wasn't, I was like, okay, I'll give myself 50-50 on this 285. So comes time to go. I walked down the first 3 dumbbells, hit the 4th dumbbell. I knew I did the 4th dumbbell slower than Alexi, so it's like I have to hit the 285. And you know what? Hooper's coming after me. There's a couple guys coming after me that I'm like, they could finish this thing. I waited until there's about 20 seconds left on the clock, go for the 285, and I hit it, and I held it. And kind of a cool moment of the show. You see me kind of look around when I'm holding the dumbbell up. I actually looked over, I looked to the left, and somebody was like, oh, you're looking over at Brian. It's like, no, I was looking over at my dad. And I don't know if he realized that's who I was looking at, but I held it, I looked over at my dad, and then I put it down. And I absolutely lost it after that, because that climbed me up into 3rd. And a couple of the guys just underperformed on the dumbbell, and a couple key guys got between me and the guys that I didn't want to do well on dumbbell. Thank you, Hooper, for creating some separation there. Thank you, Novikov. Thank you, a couple of these guys, because it just that event shook up the points in a crazy way. Coming down to the final event, the Fingal Fingers into the power stairs. It was myself, Trey Mitchell, and Austin Andrade, basically on an island fighting for 3rd. Everyone behind us was 6th through 10th was a fight, but they were almost too far back as long as we didn't have catastrophe on that final event. And Thor and Hooper were so far ahead that there was nothing we could do to catch them in 1st and 2nd. So kind of funny enough, it came down to a battle of the 3 girth boys of the show. myself, Trey, and Andrade. None of us would be described as terribly fast, but we were all brutally strong, had the capacity to finish that final event. And just the way the points lined up, Trey had to go first against Bobby, and Trey kind of set a huge PR as far as like his power stairs and his grip. He basically finished, just barely didn't get the last implement on in time. So Trey set almost as good of a mark as he could have. So basically after he did that, I was like, okay, I must finish if I want to get the third in the show. And lined up against Andrade. And I was worried. I made him fix both implements. I made him leaf blower off the stairs. I made him straighten out the finger finger. I was like, Brian was a little frustrated with me when I was doing this, and I was like, I kind of yelled at him a little bit, and maybe it was just the adrenaline. I was like, I got one shot at this. I'm going to make it right. And I think thank you to the crew, because they the whole weekend they made every implement right what it needed to be. We go. I get through the fingers. I finished well ahead of Andrade, but I wasn't looking at him. I didn't know that I was ahead. I was just like, I must finish. I have to finish. I get to the power stairs. I start climbing with the 550. And what's funny is in my head, compared to previous power stair runs, this felt incredibly slow. So I thought I was just wasting time. I was gassed out. And honestly, my main criticism of myself for the whole weekend was not that I wasn't strong enough for the show. I wasn't in good enough shape for the show. And I can't just blame the elevation. The press medley was only hard because I was fighting my lungs. The dumbbell was only hard because I was fighting my lungs. The arm over arm would have been hard regardless, but it would have hurt a lot less if I was just in a little bit better cardiovascular shape. So honest criticism of myself and my prep for the show, I need to come into it lighter and a little bit better shape next year. And I'm going up on these power stairs, and it just felt slow. I was fighting against my conditioning, but I was steady. And the best bit of advice Alec ever gave me was power stairs for America's Strongest is like, do not allow yourself to feel until the event is done. And I was feeling some things out there, but I kept to our agreement. Step, up the stair, go. Step, go. Step, go. And I just kept moving. It felt incredibly slow. And if you would have asked me when I loaded the 600 up to the top, I thought I had like 5 seconds left. And turns out I did it in a minute 2. I did it faster than Boudreaux and Derwinski, two guys who I consider to be much faster than me. I ended up, I think, 5th in that final event. Let me see. Strongman Archives got it pulled up. I got 12 points. So that means, I got 5th. Right? Yeah. Placed much higher than I thought I would. And when I loaded that stair, I knew that meant that I locked in 3rd. And in the beginning of that day, I thought there was a 0% chance. Honestly, beginning of the weekend, I thought there was a 0% chance that I would be placed in 3rd. I definitely didn't. I couldn't get up and celebrate like in a traditional way. I dropped my knees up on the top of the power stairs. Definitely cried a little bit. There just wasn't any energy in me to get up and yell and be excited. I was that event kicked my ass, and I needed a moment, and it was one of the coolest moments of my strongman career. And one of the things that I love is I finally brought myself to watch the video, and Alec kind of worked his way out onto the floor for that event. And as I'm down up on the stairs, basically bawling my eyes out, Alec is losing his mind on the floor. And honestly, I can't be more thankful for that dude. He's one of my best friends. He's my coach. I was a pretty decent amateur when he got a hold of me, and I've put a lot of trust and faith in that guy. He is one of the best strength coaches in the world, and he's sacrificed a lot and believed in me a lot. And we did this one together, like we've done all the other ones together. I can't thank that dude enough. And I had a small army of dungeon strength people out in the stands, as there always is. We roll deep to every show. We had 20 people in the UK, and we had about the same here at Strongest Man on Earth. We had my parents out in the stands. Thank you to everybody that helped them get down onto the floor for the podium ceremony. My parents hit the lottery with them, and I have more support than I even know what to do with. Both from like, it's weird to say I have fans because I'm not used to that yet. But just friends and family and all, and the people at Dungeon and clients and just other people in the sport. The amount of support that I have is unbelievable, and I just I get emotional just thinking about it. And my parents are the tip of that spear, and I'm so thankful that they got to be there, and they've been there for everything. It's back to when I was in parking lots, man. Yeah, I still can hardly believe this one. Third strongest man on earth. Fifth pro podium in a row. Sixth total podium in a row. And it just keeps growing, keeps getting a little bit better. Yeah, let me know if you have. Sorry, I'm a little choked up on this one. I don't have much to say. It's cool, man. This is a top moment of the career so far, and I can't wait to do it again next year. A couple of the fans came up afterwards and they're like, "You gotta win this thing next year." I'm like, I gotta find 20 or 30 points on Thor and Mitch Hooper, and very likely Tom Stoltman in a normal situation. That's not an easy ask. Much respect to all those guys. They are the top of the sport right now. But this was a pretty cool weekend to prove that I'm coming, and I want to be a problem for those guys as long as I can be. And I think put in the work. I think there will be a time that I can beat some of those guys. Just I need some time. I need to go back to the lab and train. And I know they're going to be training just as hard, or even it's going to be awesome for the couple years to come. So my next show is probably going to be America's Strongest Man in October 12th weekend in Vegas at the Olympia. If you want to watch back anything with the Shaw Classic, I'm not going to be putting out too many more actual clips of the show because it lives on pay-per-view. So there's pay-per-views at theshawclassic.com. So watch that back. That helps fund all the cool things that Brian and Carrie are doing. And that kind of transitioned me to my final point. Thank you to Brian Shaw and Carrie Shaw and to their team. Just being there this weekend was life-changing, career-changing. I could have got last, and it would have been one of the defining memories of my career. Not a single team in Strongman is doing more for the athletes than you. I've gotten incredible treatment at other contests. A lot of love and support, and just the little things that they do is incredible. But you guys are knocking out of the park. It's not even close. It's a new standard for that's the kind of thing you'd expect from the world title, and I cannot wait to come back and compete for this world title for many years to come, because I think that's what this show is. And thank you guys again, because you don't even understand what this means to me. So yeah, we'll sign it off with that. Third strongest man on earth. Pretty crazy.